This is News Talk.
Hello there, you're welcome along. We've got a busy show this evening, including a phenomenal guest who we're thrilled to have on with us, Jason Black, who has been to Everest and K2 and back to tell the tale. An amazing fellow with an amazing story. We're going to play you that interview, and it's well worth sticking around for, I promise you. Richie McCormack is here. Hello.
Hey, Joe.
And Johnny Ward. Been a while since I've been.
How are you, Joe? How are things?
With you? How are you?
Not too bad. Not too bad. All
been
good.
a while. All good. All good. What's been going on in your world?
Lots of League of Ireland. Busy time in the racing front, and yeah, not much. Had a wedding in New York.
Jet set lifestyle as ever.
4-day trip to New York, and actually the highlight of my year.
Of your year?
Yeah, I was an MC at a local Rose competition in my home village of Newbridge on.
Was this a qualifier for the main event?
Monday. No, because there was 10 men dressed as women, and it was to raise money for the local church. And it sounds completely mad. And
so
it was
the church are for cross-dressing now. Is that what you're saying?
This reminds me of Father Ted. Like, I thought the church was profoundly against that sort of stuff, but it was as mad as it sounds. It was an awful lot madder. It was just so insane. Like, and some of the contestants took it really seriously and raised a lot of money. And they put on these kind of, put on female personas and did all the acts, and there was a massive crowd. Like, my villages, there was a stag and a hen on. My sister was actually getting married in July, and the guy she was married, the stag and the hen was on at the weekend, so they didn't really make it. So that was like about 100 of the parish not even there. But like, the parish is tiny, but there must have been. The whole marquee was completely packed, and they had a bar next door in the old parish hall, and it was an unbelievable crack, I have to say. And they've raised 20,000 for the local church.
Oh, fair class.
Yeah,
good on.
I said this on. I think I said this. Who did I say it with? And they were giving out, why didn't the church pay for it? Actually, Jared the other morning. Jared was like, why didn't the Catholic Church pay for all of this? Have you ever been to the Vatican? They've loads of money.
It's a fair question.
It's not really the point, though. It's more communities where it. Because I'm not a mass goer, but like, I can see the value of the church in my little village at home, and amazing community spirit and great crack as well. And kudos to Willie Flynn. He was the winner. Shirley, I think, was her name actually, but Willie's the
what did Willie/Shirley do to deserve the victory?
Had a song about Father Louis, and just got everyone laughing. Like, the whole audience, like, which would be fairly old audience as well, but they just loved the crack in Newbridge, and he was just very, very funny. And as an MC, it was very hard to keep a straight face, particularly when these buxom men were kind of brushing against you like all the time. It was like very, very strange.
And could you see yourself hosting the Rose of Tralee down the line, John?
No. I think it's a bit too.
All credit to Daithí O'Shea.
It's a bit too ridiculous, but like, I don't think I'd be able to do it either.
So hold on. The Rose of Tralee is too ridiculous, despite the fact that you've just MC'd what essentially was a drag show in Newbridge and County Galway.
But this was an absolute piss take. Like, the Rose of Tralee isn't supposed to be that. Do you know what I mean?
That's true.
So and apparently then one of the Rose of Tralee committee was actually there completely randomly. And he was talking to myself and another lad what he thought of the whole event. And I was
Scout mission.
This is just too surreal.
Maybe they're looking for a new presenter. Maybe he was there to scout you.
Is Daithí done?
I don't know. Is it Daithí who does it now? Yeah.
It is, yeah.
But
Ryan Tubridy did it. Who did it before? Ray Darcy did it, did he?
Darcy did it. I think Tubbs has done it.
it gets an unbelievably big audience. I think, was it last year? It was like one of the most watched shows in the whole year on RT.
It's a shamefully big audience.
Shamefully.
It would make you worry, really.
Yeah.
How's Love Island going, Joe?
Yeah.
Well, we're only 2 nights in, but very well. So let's crack on then. We have Leinster on this story. Well, there's 2 investigations, it seems, aren't there?
Yeah, there are. Leinster have confirmed that they've concluded an investigation into an alleged incident involving an academy player and a former player with the province. It's alleged the academy player was knocked unconscious as a result of the incident that occurred during celebrations of Leinster's Pro 14 win. A brief statement this evening read, Leinster Rugby is aware of an alleged incident that occurred in the early hours of Sunday, the 26th of May 2019, involving one of our academy players and a former Leinster Rugby employee. An internal investigation was carried out by Leinster Rugby, which has concluded to the satisfaction of all parties, and as a result we will not be making any further comment on the incident other than to confirm that the player in question received medical attention and that he has made a full recovery.
Do we know what to the satisfaction of all parties means?
To the satisfaction of all parties means that I would presume
but
that
we don't know.
We don't know the exact details of it, but like
Can read into it, I
We can
guess.
read into it, yeah, that they don't want to take it any further.
This does have the sense of, please, can we just leave this go? Everybody just let this go, please. That's what's going on here. We won't be making any further comment.
Yeah. However, a separate investigation into claims that another Leinster player urinated on a man in a pub remains open. Alan Quinlan told this morning's OTB AM that the incidents alleged that they are in question cast Irish rugby in a poor light.
There's still a responsibility with the individual to behave well. The videos I saw and the stuff I saw were the Leinster players having a sing-song and having a few drinks, which is fully understandable and they're fully entitled to do. And I think then there's the allegation of someone urinating on somebody else's leg at the bar, and then the assault of an academy player, where an academy player was taken to hospital by an ex-Leinster player. So they're the kind of things that Leinster wouldn't want to wake up to the next day and hear about and go, wow, we have stuff to deal with now, and the RFU don't want to hear it either.
Yeah, I mean, you feel we're sort of beyond the point of having to saying you shouldn't urinate on someone's leg.
How long does an investigation take into... Do you know how long does an investigation take into that happening? I mean, it either happened or it didn't.
Yeah, I wouldn't think it should take too long.
No, I mean, it's just fairly... You'd know if somebody urinated on your leg, and so you'd imagine the person who may or may not have done it would as well.
Yes, so then just take action, deal with it. I mean, it also just highlights generally we've not a great relationship with drink in the country.
Yeah, definitely.
That is at the centrepiece of all of this. And it so often is, both those issues just revolve around us with drink. And especially in sport, when these lads can't drink for 2-3 months a pop.
And then they go nuts.
And this kind of stuff happens.
Body can't handle it. Body simply can't handle it.
Yeah. So, we'll see where it goes. I mean, they're conducting their investigation. We'll let them conduct away. Meanwhile, the Cristiano Ronaldo situation seems to have changed.
There seemed to be some confusion over this earlier on today. Bloomberg were reporting that the rape lawsuit filed against Cristiano Ronaldo had been dropped. In fact, a filing for voluntary dismissal was lodged in Las Vegas, but Catherine Mayorga's lawyers say the withdrawal of the case from Nevada State Court is a strategic one. Mayorga alleges the Juventus forward sexually assaulted her at a Las Vegas hotel in 2009. Her lawyers say the switch of court has been made to federal court due to the difficulty that they've had in serving Ronaldo with the complaint. Ronaldo denies the accusations. He is in fact in the starting 11 tonight for Portugal's Nations League semi-final with Switzerland, which has a 7:45 start at the Dragao. Bernardo Silva is another player in that starting 11 for Portugal tonight, as is Benfica wonderkid João Felix. For Switzerland, Granit Xhaka captains the side from midfield, and Xherdan Shaqiri, fresh from celebrations in Madrid at the weekend, starts in their forward line. 7:45 start in Porto tonight for that one.
It'll be interesting about Ronaldo as well. If it's possible that Pogba could go to Juve, and it seems that it might be possible, how that dynamic would work. Would the fact that, and we spoke about this again the other morning, would the fact that you've kind of two major egos there help Juve? And would Juve see it as a means, like Ronaldo seemed to be mainly bought to sell, to sell the club in terms of the brand, and Pogba would certainly do that. It'd be very interesting if it happened.
Yeah, two big alpha males.
It'd highlight a major problem in Italian football in that there isn't anybody that can financially compete with Juventus at the minute, and they're we talk about the likes of Celtic and the likes of Dublin and their run in football. Like what Juventus are doing in Italy is basically winning leagues for fun. There's no one coming close to them.
Yeah,
and it's getting really uninteresting. Roma are one of the clubs that are trying to reorganise things, and they've jiggered around with stuff last summer, and they're doing it again this term. But they're the only ones that seem to have their house in order. Milan as well, getting Paolo Maldini back on board, but they've no money to bring in players that might necessarily compete with Juve. It's a pretty grim scenario.
Funny enough, Napoli were very close to knocking Liverpool out of the Champions League, like really close, and missing the last minute after a Lovren mistake.
Yeah, it feels like a long time ago now.
It does, because a lot happened in the thing since.
It'd be interesting though if Sarri actually does pitch up. Maurizio Sarri pitches up this summer, having brought in possibly Paul Pogba. They're definitely going to have Cristiano Ronaldo next term, and he's gone from one scenario whereby he doesn't feel he has control to, well, one that he almost certainly won't.
Yeah. Were you happy, speaking of Liverpool, to see them win the Champions League?
Absolutely. I obviously I was a Liverpool fan when I was a kid, and I wouldn't have had the same sort of, wouldn't be as emotionally involved now. But from a purely footballing perspective, I've been to a few Liverpool games. I think it's an amazing city. I think it's a very Irish city, very friendly city. Granted, there's a lot of boozing over there when you go to the Liverpool game as well. Like, it's part of the culture, but they're very friendly, very welcoming, and I find it very hard not to warm to Klopp and that team.
It's Klopp, isn't it? He's the centrepiece. He really is.
I thought it would have been a footballing tragedy if they hadn't won something this year. You know, I really felt they deserve something, even though the Champions League, there's no way they should have been to the final. Like, Barca should close that out. Spurs shouldn't have been there either, but it was sort of fitting that it was a forgettable final, because it was just too ridiculous what happened going into it, in that it was never going to match up to what happened. But you know, I think where Liverpool go from here is so interesting. I think who they sign in midfield is going to be the next big move. The player that can kind of maybe keep the ball a bit, because they're not really a possession team.
Not really.
I love Rabiot from PSG, what I've seen of him.
Yeah.
But he has a seriously bogey backstory as well. Like, he's basically down tools on PSG this year. And
his mother's running the show.
His mother's running the show, and you know, he's now on a free.
I would think Klopp is particularly picky in terms of the type of characters he's bringing into this very happy group.
Absolutely. You know? But apparently Solskjaer is courting him already, which, you know, but he's going to command, like, he's likely going to command a big wage because he's on a free. But I think in terms of his ability for that midfield, I think he'd be absolutely perfect.
Solskjaer and Manchester United can't be quite as picky just at the moment.
No.
Funny, Pat Nevin was on last night and I said, so what do Liverpool do? A point behind this Man City machine, which are probably going to keep going again next year, and they've had this amazing season. Where do they strengthen? He was saying another striker.
Well, they're also getting rid of storage. So definitely in terms of bodies, anyway, they definitely need somebody else. Yeah,
it's hard to know if Origi is going to manage to hit the same heights again, guaranteed next year. So maybe another striker, but a midfielder who could control things a bit more as well. Milner's 33, though he does seem to be the fittest 33-year-old on the planet.
They need another left forward as well. They probably need another centre half.
Yeah, they do, absolutely. Yeah, I presume they have the resources, and it's a very attractive club now to go to. I saw a photo of Milner stopping outside a house of somebody that was involved in
Hillsborough,
one of the Hillsborough victims, I think, stopped outside the house with the trophy on top of the bus. Like, it's hard to feel much affection for a lot of modern day footballers, but I mean this, there's something about the likes of Milner and Henderson and a lot of those Liverpool players that just, like, it's striking. I remember I was at the Burnley game towards the end of the season. It wasn't a great game, but I read the match programme, and the quality of what Henderson was writing in his captain's notes, he was basically imploring people to go to the Sean Cox fundraiser, and it was just like, I know it's ridiculous of me to ask, but even if you could just donate a few quid, and there's a lot of human qualities in that club.
They seem very grounded, very likeable. Milner did a really interesting interview a couple of weeks ago with Ollie Holt in the Mail on Sunday, and he was talking about how, for instance, he will speak Spanish to his kids because he just thinks it's a good thing to do to have a second language. So his kids will come down and he's like, "Buenos dias," and he'll tell them after bath time to get a towel in Spanish, and they understand it. And you're thinking, more to James Milner than any of us thought, you know.
That's not the boring James Milner.
No, certainly not. Certainly not. Meanwhile, Richie, Gianni Infantino.
He is going to be the president of FIFA through to 2023. Football's governing bodies, 211 members acclaimed him without a vote because he was the only candidate. Infantino first elected, of course, back in February 2016 to complete the term of Sepp Blatter, who at the time was forced out of office following a series of corruption investigations at the organisation. Simona Halep is going to have to play for 3 days in a row if she's to retain her French Open singles title. Her quarter-final with Amanda Anisimova has been put back to tomorrow after rain halted play today at Roland Garros. All quarter-finals scheduled for today will instead be played tomorrow, with all of the men's and women's semi-finals being played on Friday. Men's top seed Novak Djokovic was due to play 5th seed Alexander Zverev today, and the other men's quarter-final will see the 4th seed Dominic Thiem go up against the 10th seed, the rising star of Karen Khachanov. And three-time French Open winner Arantxa Sanchez Vicario is among those backing team to break the stranglehold of the so-called Big Three.
I always say that before the tournament started that he was one of the contenders as well to be involved with these three players. He's still there. He's been showing every match. The conditions are different every day, so I think that you have to count on him, and with no pressure, he can be dangerous.
You were just saying that you were watching a bit of tennis last night?
Yeah, and it was just on the couch kind of flicking, and it was literally two women I'd never heard of. One is Czech and the other is Croat.
Petra Martic was one.
Martic against a young Czech who was 19, and I was looking up, Martic is 28, so it's a big age gap, and she went 5-2 down in the second set. She ended up losing, but unbelievable rallies. I was reading up on Martic. Her uncle died in the war in Croatia. Her dad died very young, and it was really entertaining. I was like, I should watch tennis more often.
It's gone under the radar. I was watching Del Potro and Kashanov, who I mentioned there, and that was a fantastic match. I think it was a 4-setter as well. Kashanov came into this as kind of, people didn't know who he was, and suddenly he was 10th seed, and he played an entertaining brand of tennis, and afterwards had the crowd on Susan Longland absolutely in the palm of his hand. Like, this is a guy who, if he can maintain his level of form and possibly win something major in the next year or so, he's got the personality to kind of kick on and be one of the major forces in the game. Like, he's definitely one of these guys that can go forward and kind of take the mantle that Federer and Nadal and Djokovic and Andy Murray have had over the past decade or so.
Yeah. Has either of you played tennis?
Yeah.
Badly.
I played lots.
You played?
Not anymore, but as a kid. My dad has played it for his whole life and still does, and I played it a lot growing up.
It's incredible fun.
It's a great game. Yeah.
And now I was got to thinking last night. I was like thinking of some like pre-rehearsed analogy about like he's about as regular as a very good Irish tennis player or something, because like, why do we know tennis players?
Yeah, no, it's a good point.
Maybe it's climate, I don't know.
I know, yeah, but no, I think it's a fair point. Because it's a very popular sport here. There's no reason why we wouldn't. I guess it's so competitive.
It is quite popular here as well. Like
on an amateur level, yeah, absolutely. We're just recreational players.
The girl who got married at the wedding I was at in New York, her family were basically all coached to play tennis, and her sister would have reached number 200 in the world, I think, which is quite a
That's brilliant.
Yeah,
it's phenomenal.
And they really like, they love the game, but I don't know, like I would implore anyone who hasn't played it, if you're young, it's so much fun.
So good. Yeah.
So much fun.
Great to hear Jason Black's on the show this evening. His achievements maybe don't get the credit they deserve, says Tom. It's true. Jason Black is the only ever history Republic of Ireland climber to make it up and down K2 successfully. You might remember Jerry McDonald from Limerick. 11 years ago now, reached the summit of K2, but died on the way back down. He was helping people on the way back down as well, actually. It was a tragic case. If you want to put K2 and Everest into context, Everest, as we know, is the highest. K2 is 150 metres lower down, shorter than Everest. Basically, since Edmund Hillary went up Everest in '53, another 4,800 people have gone up Everest. So 4,800 have gone up Everest, whereas K2 in that same period, less than 400, 300 and something of the world's best climbers across 80 years had managed to get up and down. It's 20% steeper than Everest, and it's steep all the way up. It takes about 2 months to do it. And Jason Black from Letterkenny has managed to do it. So he's a phenomenon. Like, it's massive achievement. I think that's going to be a very interesting interview as well, because it's just it's been in the news recently. Yeah, the deaths in Everest, 11 across May.
I spoke about Newbridge where that mad competition was on, but there was a Heinz man who was from Newbridge. Again, a tiny place. He was one of those who died on Everest in the last sort of couple of weeks.
Right. There's Seamus Lawless as well, the Trinity professor, who by all accounts is a really strong climber, and he died on the descent, maybe 200 metres from camp. It was a freak accident, winds. But it seems increasingly on the Nepalese side as opposed to the Chinese side, there's overcrowding. They're giving out the permits too easily, and there's companies who are making a huge amount of money, and they're putting people there who want to quote unquote conquer Everest but don't have the climbing experience. And you've seen the photos of people almost in like
it's
single
like
file queue for a roller coaster ride or something. So Jason Black does not have a high opinion of that, and he climbed from the other side, but he thinks permits are being given out too easily, I think, on the Nepalese side. There's big money. I mean, it might cost you 70 grand to go up Everest.
Yeah, but it's human lives, it's like.
Yeah. I don't know, there's just something though about climbing Everest should almost have like a mythical, spiritual experience. It shouldn't feel like you're in a queue. It's just not how you would visualise going up Everest. You feel like it should be you and your crew.
You versus the mountain.
Just the mountain. We put a picture up there of the queue, which just looks... What's that queue? About a mile long, 2 miles long? In single file? It's not really what you think Everest is going to be when you get there.
No.
Anyway, where are we going next, Richie?
Christian Eriksen, he says he's ready to leave Tottenham to seek what he calls a new challenge. The Danish playmaker, who has 1 year left on his contract at White Hart Lane, has been linked with a summer move to Real Madrid. Eriksen feels he's at the point in his career where he's ready to move to another club, though he does admit he could yet sign a new deal with Spurs. The 27-year-old, of course, preparing to face the Republic of Ireland in the Euro 2020 qualifiers on Monday. The Irish Independent's Dan McDonald joined Jaron Owen on OTB AM and says that Ireland shouldn't be fearful of the Danes.
But yeah, in terms of this Friday, I mean, Denmark are a good team. They still were 3-0 down against Switzerland in their last match, and they did get three goals to get a point. But like, they're not infallible.
No.
You know what I mean? Like they have. This is a group that provides opportunity if Ireland play at their maximum. I mean the teams ranked higher are good, but in international football, if you have a decent level of organisation and a bit of momentum, they're not the sort of challenge they present isn't insurmountable at all.
Do you expect a draw?
I suppose. I mean, in saying all of that, if you're probably going to go for some kind of prediction here, you still are leaning that way.
Yeah.
Because also as well, these end of season games, like you watched the Champions League final last week, and
it was knackered.
And like that's a sort of variable that's added to this here. Like, I mean, some of the better Irish players that are more informed Irish players haven't played in a month, and Denmark, the players are actually spread a bit more around Europe, so they finish at different seasons. But these June games, like in non-major tournament years, like are generally they can be pretty bad.
Yeah.
You know, and as a result, you could sleepwalk your way to a draw without it necessarily being a massive, like, high intensity. And we'll see when we get over there. I don't know what the buzz is in Denmark. I mean, they've been involved in a couple of tournaments. You know, they still have the same management team. You know, is this going to be like fever pitch atmosphere, or just, oh, here we go, another game with Ireland? Does that sort of seep into the mood around the whole match?
We're boring Denmark into submission. Slowly but surely, they're going to be so sick of playing us that everyone's just going to be, It's very hard to predict energy levels and the intensity of the whole thing. These June matches are terrible. Gary Breen said it was his least favourite fixture of the year. It just didn't feel right. I was massively encouraged by what we saw the last day out. Mick McCarthy at the Aviva Stadium just had a bit of energy about the side. They knew what they were doing. And, you know, already you have a good sense of what the team is going to be. The players will as well. You'd be very hopeful going over there that decent performance will happen, and therefore a draw is very attainable.
Oh, absolutely. Like we got 2 draws under Martin O'Neill now. The last time, I suppose it kind of looked like the entire management had put their entire life savings on a 0-0 draw, like in that, like, we will not attack at all.
Say legally that did not happen.
Now this will be a little bit different. I think Mick, like as Dan said, why should we be afraid of Denmark? And I don't know if we have a slot later on about Stephen Kenny and that, but if you look at the under-21s, the way they're playing at the moment, there's no fear.
Yeah, isn't it brilliant? Stephen Kenny is almost doing what the under-21s. Now I didn't see the game, but I saw a 4-1 result, and I thought, goodness me.
They haven't played, but bear in mind, Ireland at an under-21 level under Kenny haven't played anyone yet. They played Luxembourg and they played China. China are under hitting. China. I just from the way you kind of try to make a basis on one game. China are not a bad side, but just for the level of enthusiasm and the ability and willingness to play the ball.
But it's a philosophy. It was that they scored 4 goals. That made me feel like I was like, well, that's what can happen under a Stephen Kenny type team, whereas. It's not like we beat China 1-0 and we had a string of 1-0 results. Like, how often do an Irish side go and score 4 goals?
I swear to God, they were doing 1-2s. The 2 centre backs were doing little triangles. It's not always the right thing to do. You can't be cavalier. But I think we have a sea change in Irish football. But Mick, I think, is a good bridge to the next step. And we're not going to go over there. Like, at the back of their mind, they're going to be thinking, like, a draw is a decent result there. There's no way we should be fearful. Ericsson, first of all, he's come to the end of his season. We'll definitely have a job in terms of what we're going to do with Ericsson. Take Ericsson out of the equation, Denmark are average enough anyway. They're beatable, and certainly we can get a draw.
Yeah, here's hoping. Something completely different. Off the Ball is heading off for some winter sun and top class golf, and we want you to join us. The OTB crew, along with special guests Kevin Kilban, Kieran Donaghy, Peter Lorry and more, are taking on 2 of the best courses around the Yas Links and the National for the first ever Off the Ball Open this November. So it's 5 nights in a 4-star hotel, a Peter Lorry golf clinic, a gala dinner and an OTB roadshow, November 17th to 23rd in Abu Dhabi. If that sounds like your kind of thing, then you can sign up now and get more details at offtheball.com/open. So hopefully we'll see you there.
Now, when you say Off the Ball crew, Joe, how broad is that?
Reasonably. Well,
that answers that question.
I won't make any plans.
We got to keep moving. Short break and busy show to come. Jason Black on the way in a couple of minutes' time. Back in a second.
Off the Ball on Newstalk.
The Moncrief Show is on the road again. Next up, Clontarf.
Movies and Booze will be coming to you live from Clontarf Castle in Dublin Friday the 7th of June. We'll have amazing music, delicious wine, good food and